This information you are about to hear and perhaps view, these are not necessarily the thoughts or the ideas of Gary C.Clement or the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the parties this story is about or was interviewed for. Parts of this content may not be owned by or the property of the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, G2 Network Media, or any other company we are affiliated with, and this information is strictly the opinion of those being interviewed. This content is for information purposes only, and although we may make reference to various news stories, we share our own independent beliefs about the content and provide our own opinions. Please enjoy the information. Hard News, hosted by Gary C.Clement. Today's news is made up of so many different issues, and it's hard to keep up. But we all know it's important to keep law enforcement in the community and society, as many in America have a problem doing the right thing. Growing up, my mother always said it's easy to do right, but so many people choose wrong, and once you get in trouble, it's very hard to get out of it. Hard News will tackle all issues that break the barriers of justice for all, freedom for all, and simply a good and strong meaning of democracy for all. The show covers politics, crime, gun violence in our communities, and will introduce guests who have a personal stake in these issues. So without further ado, please enjoy this week of Hard News, hosted by Gary C. Clement. We see here in the news today, there are a couple of interesting stories. One is R.Kelly becomes an inmate in a North Carolina prison. It says disgraced R&B singer R.Kelly was convicted of numerous child sex crimes as well as sex trafficking. He's now being held in a federal prison in Granville County. That is very interesting because that is about 20 miles from my house here in Durham, North Carolina. To talk more about this story as well as some of the things and stuff that has puzzled a lot of people about R. Kelly is my friend, Mr. Connie McKithen from Yardley, Pennsylvania. How are you, Connie?
I'm well, Gary. How are you?
Okay. Yeah, so R. Kelly, what is your thoughts about this story? There's been a lot of stuff going on or whatnot from a couple of years ago up until now. How do you feel about all this?
Um, Gary, the way I look at it, not to be judgmental, what went on in the R. Kelly community and the people around him, I think from what I've seen in the news, all are part of the problem. And being a concert promoter of sports and celebrity sports and concerts, kind of know what people like R. Kelly go through. And his situation got out of control. His enemies took charge. Whether he was wrong or right in what he did with the young ladies, that's for R. Kelly and the young ladies who participated in it to know the truth. We can't decide the truth. But I can say this, the time that he got for the crime that he was accused of committing, I think is excessive.
Okay. Now, beyond just him being sentenced and having to go to prison, shouldn't some of the families or shouldn't some of the mothers and fathers also be convicted of some of this? Or what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. No question about it. And if you put me in a room with any of these people as a former criminal investigator, I can sort out the truth. And believe me, there's enough things went on. R. Kelly is not the only guilty one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And there seems to be more stories coming out, as we speak, actually. I know there's another case, I believe, pending somewhere. And because I think he's done New York already. Los Angeles, they were talking about charges or something there, in Chicago, of course. But I'm pretty sure there's other stuff that's going to come out, too. Everybody is looking for a payday even after he's in prison now.
And the other thing, you're absolutely right. Once a forest fire starts, it continued to burn on the grass and the ground, the trees and everything. R. Kelly was a forest fire. Once there's accusing him of the kind of heinous crime that they said he committed with women, everybody got on the bandwagon, and it got out of control. You're guilty you're innocent to proven guilty, and the guy was guilty from the word go.
Yeah.
Whether you talked about it in South Carolina, or talked about it in California, talked about it in Montana, or talked about it in New Jersey, R.Kelly was guilty based on the things that were said on popular shows, nationwide, newsroom, and R.Kelly had not a chance, man.
Right.
Not a
Right.
chance.
I hear you. Yeah. So I guess my question is there's talk of a book. He comes out with a book. I wonder how that's going to change this whole thing.
If he comes out with a book and tell the gospel truth, don't cover it up with no sugar, say just what happened, and then let that be his defense. Because right now it's accusatory of
Hmm.
what he did, what he didn't do. Come on, he can write a book and come out with it and set people straight. But don't let that wildfire um, take place. You can't stop it, and especially about a man raping a woman or a man taking advantage of young women. I mean, you can't stop that. People like that. It's like buying a comic book that everybody likes, so everybody go out and buy it.
Right.
Now, yeah. So I think R. Kelly is a victim of the circumstances that was put out there on him.
I see. Right. Okay. And in contrast with what happened to Bill Cosby, is this anything like the Bill Cosby situation at all, in your opinion?
Well, Bill Cosby went from the ivory towers down to the bottom of the floor. But my point with Bill Cosby is Bill allowed himself to participate with women that meant him no good, and he knew that, and he kept going back to the well. And the same woman that kept trying to get more money, she found a new job in letting Bill Cosby back in the door. And then after he left, she was say he raped me.
Hmm.
But first of all, Cosby shouldn't have been in that neck of the woods of dealing with women on all levels, and had a wife at home, family. If you want to do those kind of things, you go someplace that people don't know you.
Hmm.
You don't do those kind of things in your backyard. So I can't really fight for Bill because, not that I'm trying to, I'm stating what I feel that he could have done differently.
I see.
He didn't need, he didn't need to be in that neighborhood doing the kind of thing he was accused of. First of all, the Philadelphia guy went back to Temple, had a lot of respect at Temple. You don't go to Temple and date somebody who's on staff.
Yeah.
That's that's crazy.
Hmm.
So whatever come out of that, he deserved it.
Yeah. I hear you. Right. And then I guess too, like I said, I guess another difference too, though, with Bill Cosby's circumstances was from what we are hearing, I guess, and seeing in the press is all of the women actually were actually greater than say 20 or 25, where
Yeah,
what R. Kelly was accused of were dealing with young girls between the age of what 11, 13, 15, up to like 17 or something. So maybe
yeah.
that's the okay.
I think therein lies a difference in terms of what these two guys did with women. R. Kelly should have had better sense. When you make it big in your neighborhood, you don't stay there. You move out of your neighborhood. You go to California and take up residence. You stay in your neighborhood, you're gonna be the victim because they're gonna get on you for something. You
Mhm.
cannot stay in your neighborhood once you make it big. And anybody who's made it big knows that. I gotta get out of here. Not that I don't like my neighborhood anymore. The neighborhood don't like me anymore.
Right, right. I remember Steve Harvey actually was talking one time about he went home one year and stuff. I think after this, I think this is actually before he got Family Feud, but he had went home and stuff to his family for a family reunion or something, and he was talking about how his family members, cousins, and just different ones and whatnot, and people that knew him, from a young age. They had him like cornered and stuff under a tree, and he was over there just like giving money out left and right. It was a line of people. So he said, from that point on, I'm not doing that anymore. So he said he'll call his mom, find out what she needs and stuff, and send her stuff, but he can't go home like that anymore.
No, you can't. You can't, and you shouldn't. And you shouldn't, because now the neighborhood is not the same, and people are angry with you for reason unknown to themselves. So you make it big, you get out, and you stay out. Like ex-presidents, they don't go back to their hometown and try to make a living and try to be a neighbor again. They move someplace else.
Right. I see.
Bill Clinton moved to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Barack Obama got Hawaii. You can go to Chicago. You can go to a number of places.
Mm-hmm.
But not back in the same neighborhood.
Right, I see.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Okay.
You fought hard to get out of the neighborhood to make something out of yourself. Then now move on. You may not want to forget about the neighborhood. Barack put a library back there. His presidential library is in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So you do things for the community from afar.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Hard News hosted by Gary C.Clement. Hard News is created, written, and produced by Gary C.Clement for G2 Network Media. This production, like all our productions, are produced in-house, and our guests' comments are not solely our thoughts or views, but strictly their opinions. We are not responsible for their interpretations of the questions we ask, and reserve the right to express our thoughts and opinions separately, with the overall objective to educate, inspire, and promote with positive and intriguing thoughts and news. If you have any news ideas, news stories that you want us to consider for discussion, please send them to gccpresents@yahoo.com. That's G as in Gary, C as in Charles, C as in Charles, presents@yahoo.com. This has been a G2 Network Media Production. Copyright 2023.